Imagine that there are people living in a cave deep underground. The cavern has a mouth that opens to the light above, and a passage exists from this all the way down to the people. They have lived here from infancy, with their legs and necks bound in chains. They cannot move. All they can do is stare directly forward, as the chains stop them from turning their heads around. Imagine that far above and behind them blazes a great fire. Between this fire and the captives, a low partition is erected along a path, something like puppeteers use to conceal themselves during their shows. Now, tell me if you suppose it's possible that these captives ever saw anything of themselves or one another other than the shadows fleeting across the cavern wall before them. Now, if they could speak, would you say that these captives would imagine that the names they gave to the things they were able to see applied to real things? Look again and think about what would happen if they were released from these chains and these misconceptions. Imagine one of them is set free from his shackles and immediately made to stand up and bend his neck around, to take steps, to gaze up toward the fire. And all of this was painful, and the glare from the light made him unable to see the objects that cast the shadows he once beheld. What do you think his reaction would be if someone informed him that everything he had formerly known was illusion and delusion, but that now he was a few steps closer to reality, oriented now toward things that were more authentic and able to see more truly? And even further, if one would direct his attention to the artificial figures passing to and fro and ask him what their names are, would this man not be at a loss to do so? Would he rather believe that the shadows he formerly knew were more real than the objects now being shown to him? Now, if he was forced to look directly at the firelight, wouldn't his eyes be pained? Wouldn't he turn away and run back to those things which he normally perceived, and understand them as more defined and clear than the things now being brought to his attention? Now, let's say that he is forcibly dragged up the steep climb out of the cavern and firmly held until finally he stands in the light of the sun. Don't you think that he would be agitated and even begin to complain? Under that light, would his eyes not be nearly blinded, unable to discern any of those things that we ourselves call real? And now he will begin to reason. He will find that the sun is the source for the seasons and the years and governor of every visible thing, and is ultimately the origin of everything previously known. That being the case, should he remember his fellow prisoners and their original dwelling, and what was accepted as wisdom in that setting, don't you imagine he would consider himself fortunate for this transformation and feel pity for the captives? Now, suppose there were honors and awards among the captives, which they granted as prizes to one another for being the best at recognizing the various shadows passing by, or deciphering their patterns, their order, and their relationships among them, and therefore best at predicting what shadow would be seen next. Do you believe that our liberated man would be much concerned with such honors, or that he would be jealous of those who receive them, or that he would strive to be like those who were lauded by the captives, and enjoy pride of place among them? Or would he rather take Homer's view, and rather wish, in earthly life, to be the humble serf of a landless man, and suffer whatever he had to, instead of holding the views of the captives and returning to that state of being? Well, here's something else to consider. If such a man would suddenly go from the sunlight to once more descended to his original circumstances, wouldn't his vision be obscured by the darkness? And so, let's say, he is with the captives and gets put into the position of interpreting the wall shadows. His eyes are still adjusting to the darkness, and it may take a while before they are. Wouldn't he become a laughingstock? Wouldn't they say, "You have returned from your adventure up there with ruined eyes"? Would they not say that the ascent was a waste of time? And if they had the opportunity, do you suppose that they might raise their hands against him and kill this person who is trying to liberate them?
Did you like this video? If you did, then you should know that these days, liking isn't real unless you push the like button. Think about it. Did you really like it if there's no digital proof?